Welcome to the Activated Stories 99th podcast.
This week's story is The King of the Birds. Okay, a story from India.
Hi, I'm Dennis.
And I'm Kimberly, and together we are the
Activated Actors.
For this episode, we are coming to you from Los Angeles. We've been having some fun hanging around with some friends in the area. Got to see a lot of our old friends.
Yeah, son, some who are not so old.
You're calling old, buddy.
And, wow, 99, that means, like, the next one's going to be 100.
Yeah, that's your math is good.
So we're going to have to do something special for the 100th podcast. We'll have to think of something good to do for that one. We do have something very special for this one as well. Right now we are staying with our friends Mike Steele and Patricia Pizer. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
They live in Chatsworth, which is it's sort of a part of Los Angeles, isn't it? I think it's officially part of Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
But, you know, Los Angeles is like an entire state, so this is way out in the country, kind of, out in the hills. And these hills are alive with the sound of, they're alive with history.
Birds.
Yeah, with the sound of birds. That's what, Mike and Patricia are bird lovers. They have a couple of cockatoos. And tell us about cockatoos.
All right. Cockatoos are a species of parrot, and they're from the Australia and Indonesia area of the world, and they are, generally speaking, large white birds. They live a very long time. They're very intelligent. They're fluffy. They're loud.
They talk.
They talk quite a bit, in fact. What else can I tell you about cockatoos?
They're entertaining.
They're extremely
very
entertaining. And
They invent games.
They invent games. They're very playful birds. They invent rules. They like to win at those games, which is why they invent the rules.
That's why they make the rules.
And change them frequently. They are very omnivorous. They'll eat almost anything. Surprisingly, and people are always bizarrely surprised to hear this, chocolate is actually poisonous to most birds. And so the thing that we all love, birds can't really have. It's really not good for them. What else? Cockatoos, like most parrots, live a very long time. Some parrots live between 35 and 85 years. One of our birds will live 60 years, and our other one will live over 100 years. So their names are...
So we have Buster Keaton, who just turned 16 the other day.
And he's
Happy
a Goffin.
birthday,
Yeah, happy
sir.
birthday, or happy hatch day.
Happy Hatch Day.
He's a Goffin's cockatoo, a species of cockatoo. And Nikolai, he's a Moluccan cockatoo mostly, and he is about 3.5 years old.
Oh, so he's got a
long way to go.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long way to go.
Wow.
And both of them
We'll
are-
need grandchildren.
Yes. So, Kaya, if you're listening to this, we'll need grandchildren at some point. But not right away. Let's see. So what else
You may
do we...
remember Kaya's done some podcasts with us in the past, a long time ago.
Yeah.
She was on some of our podcasts. You have to dig through the archives to find Kaya. in
Yeah,
there.
Kaya is Mike's daughter.
Yeah, Kaya and Chris, I think.
And you may hear, speaking of birds, you may hear some other bird noises in the background. We are in the garage here, and the door is open, and this neighborhood is full of peacocks.
Feral peacocks. I guess the background behind that is in Los Angeles in the 20s and 30s, a long time ago, people seemed to think it was a really great idea to have peacocks running around everywhere. It was an Art Deco thing. And they're beautiful birds,
They are.
and they're very loud. They have a very distinctive cry. They kind of go ooh-wah, ooh-wah. Over the years of people keeping them in the parks and little cages and stuff, many of them got out, and they've reproduced, and they've been in most neighborhoods in Los Angeles have one or two semi-feral peacocks, and of course everyone feeds them, and they have a great time. And the fish and game people come by to keep track of them and make sure they're healthy and band them and all the things you do for wildlife management. And so that's why we have peacocks.
And we actually have a small flock of them, which is kind of cool. And there's also a flock of mixed parrots
Right.
that live
Yep,
here.
there are.
We haven't seen them.
They hang out in the cemetery, and they're all either escapees or they've
Or
bred
feral, right.
and created their own. So it's this mixed flock.
It's
Where
very
you can
interesting
see all
because
kinds of parrots.
both San Francisco and Los Angeles have pretty large populations of wild feral parrots that have escaped and reproduced in the wild. The climate is really good for them. There's no deep winter here, and there's plenty of things to eat and plenty of things to keep them curious. There's no real natural predators aside from the occasional hawk, and they just have a great time here.
So they're at home.
Kind of settled in.
This is a neighborhood that looks familiar to anyone who's seen a lot of Western movies because they shot a lot of old scenes here. In fact, just down the street is the old Roy Rogers estate.
That's right. This whole neighborhood was used all during the early days of the golden eras of movies to film westerns because there's a lot of rocks and it looks very desert-like. And Roy Rogers and all of his film production companies did, I think, Patricia, you were saying
over 2,000
Western movies were shot in this neighborhood, were filmed here. And so if you watch old movies, you'll see some of the rocks that are around here. You'll recognize them because the rocks don't change. And I think the Lone Ranger television show was filmed around the corner as well. And so
the opening scene.
The opening scene and many of the episodes. So this whole area is rich in...
and Star Trek.
And
Star Trek as well.
Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, we took a hike through the hills, and a lot of it looked familiar to me from Star Trek. I knew I'd seen that landscape in some old, the original Star Trek series, where they were really on a tight budget.
There's some rocks over there.
Right. We need to film a planet scene. Let's drive 2 exits up and take the cameras up.
Basically, they shot it in their backyard, so that's why it looks so familiar. With all the birds around, we thought it appropriate to do a bird story.
This episode's story is The King of the Birds.
Once upon a time, the birds had no king. And so, because they had no ruler, they were constantly fighting among themselves.
This is kind of embarrassing. Everybody else in the jungle has a king.
Ooh, yes, we have no king since Elvis died. Ooh, perhaps we should elect one, or however they pick kings.
I'll be king.
No, I'll be king.
I'll be king.
No, me.
Oh, wait, me.
All right.
Well, who's gonna be the king?
The Mina had an idea.
Let the bird who can fly the highest be made king of the air,
she said. One of the birds, the eagle, was a boast. He was big and strong, and he was sure that he would win. He strutted around and asked,
"Why not make me king now? You know I can fly the highest."
Ooh, you just have a big head because your face is on a coin.
"Still, you may not win,"
piped a little voice. An eagle turned to see who said that. It was the sparrow.
Oh, and who's going to beat me? You?
The little birds, the middle-sized birds, and the big birds, and all the other birds, all got ready for the race. It was decided that Owl should start the race. When everyone was ready, the owl cried, "Woo! Woo! Woo!"
And as soon as the owl signaled, all the birds took off into the air. Up, and away! They went far into the blue sky. Flap, 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 flap.
But they could not fly very high and very fast for very long.
I'm done.
One by one, sometimes 2 by 2, they dropped out of the race.
Only the eagle went on flying, as strong as ever.
Hi, I'm a bird in the sky, an eagle that flies so high,
he sang. At length he looked down below him and saw that all the birds had given up.
What did I say? I am the king of the air and all the birds that fly.
But what the eagle didn't know was that the tiny sparrow had been flying under his wing. The moment he stopped, the sparrow darted out. He flew just above the eagle's head and cried out,
No, Mr. Eagle. I am the king of the birds. Look, I've flown higher than you."
All the birds agreed with Sparrow. Yep, I agree with Sparrow, no. Sorry, Eagle, he won. They were glad to see the proud eagle beaten. He had boasted too much, and they chose Sparrow as their king.
But the eagle did not like this at all. He couldn't bear to see the crown being placed on the sparrow's head, so he caught that little bird in his claws and threw him to the ground.
Ow! Bird abuse. Although Sparrow did not get hurt, he found that the eagle had torn away half his tail.
"Oh well, I'll still be king,"
he told himself. And ever since, Sparrow has had a short tail.
And there ends our short tale.
And that's the story of King of the Birds from India.
Well, I tell you, that eagle sure has an ego.
An eagle, an eagle.
An eagle with an ego. You know, it reminds me, we're doing a show right now that involves an eagle on stage, live at some libraries and schools, right now in California. But our eagle is from the Zuni tribe. In fact, we've also done a podcast with the eagle. The Coyote and Eagle is the story that I'm thinking of, and how the sun and moon came to be in the sky. Our Coyote Eagle story can be seen somewhere in California, as well as 3 other stories. We do 2 stories in every show. So you might catch the Coyote and Eagle at one of the following shows. We're going to be in Sacramento performing for homeschoolers, and that show is sponsored by HSC, that's Homeschoolers Association of California. That will be on this Friday, so the day after this podcast airs. Also on the 17th, we're in Modesto at the Public Library in Modesto at 12 o'clock. If you're in the area, come on by, catch a show. 19th and 20th, we are going to be in San Jose. The shows are going to be at schools, but they are sponsored by the Rose Garden Library in San Jose, California. And then we're not done. We've got more shows coming up in the Bay Area. We're going to be at Palo Alto Children's Library on the 21st of April. That's a 3:30 show, right after school lets out. And on the 22nd, we are going to be in Lodi, California, performing on stage. On the same day, our son Zephyr will be at the Thomas Crane Library in Quincy, Massachusetts, appearing as Captain Jack Sparrow.
On the 29th, we'll be at the Belvedere Tiburon Library, another Bay Area show in Tiburon, California.
We'll be back. And Zephyr will actually be present at that show. He's going to be flying out to California to join us for a little bit of touring around the Northern California area.
Yes, we're going to have a Zephyr blowing in.
So he'll be here right after he does Captain Jack Sparrow. So, a few opportunities to see us in California or possibly Zephyr in Massachusetts.
You could do both. You could hop back and forth.
Yeah, why not? Thomas Crane Library show for Zephyr will be at 10:30 on April 22nd.
And there is an interview of him online.
There is.
There's an interview of him. There is.
Yes, QATV did a special interview with Captain Jack Sparrow. Like I said, Zephyr is flying out to see some friends here in California. We've been doing a lot of visiting, not just with Mike and Patricia.
We visited a lot of friends in the Los Angeles area.
Yes, in fact, that's one of the reasons we came down here, is to see friends. We haven't been down to Los Angeles in about 4 years.
Something like that.
In fact, we get our mail sent to California, in Burbank, California. But it was the first time we've picked up mail in person in about 4 years.
Yeah, I think so. At least 4 years.
It is sent on to us down the road. Every couple of weeks we have it mailed to wherever we are. So we do get our mail. We just don't get to pick it up in person all that often.
Let's backtrack a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, so before that we were in Long Beach.
Yes, and we got to stay on a boat. We got to visit our friends, the Malkoffs, and Eddie's been on our podcast before. You might have heard Sarah Edith. We call her Eddie. She has been on the podcast, so we got to visit her family, and we got to stay on their boat for a few days. Ooh, that was fun.
That was nice.
That was very neat.
That was the Long Beach Marina.
Yes. Before that, we were in Arizona.
Right.
Where we got to see more friends. Some friends of Zephyr's from Not Back to School camp. And
we also got to meet up with a bunch of storytelling friends that we hadn't met before, but that we were acquainted with online.
Yes, Sean Bovella and a whole group of storytellers hosted a very special event just because we were coming through town. And we had a storytellers, what do they call it? Storytellers meetup.
Story swap, right?
A story swap, okay. And we all got to share stories with storytellers, and it was a very fun, engaging evening. Sean told us the story of Rapunzel, and I've never seen anybody do it quite the way he does. So very entertaining. Lots of stories, lots of fabulous stories by the local storytellers there in Arizona.
And food.
And food.
That was in the Phoenix area.
Yep. Before that,
we were in Albuquerque, and we met up with some friends there.
We've been doing a lot of friend hopping lately.
Mark and Mary. Mark Dunn is a playwright and novelist that I went to school with a long time ago at Memphis State University.
And he wrote Elemental P.
Elemental P, which is a wonderful little novel.
And Ibid. And a few other stories.
Yes, and another novel called...
Amongst others.
Yes, a novel called Welcome to Higbee. And he's mostly known as a playwright, however.
We've spent time in Albuquerque before. This is the first time we took a ride on the tramway, which is the world's longest tramway.
Longest aerial tramway, which means it goes way up in the mountains.
We went way up to Sandia Peak, bright and sunny skies on the Albuquerque side, and when we get to the top, there's snow.
And people are skiing still.
And people are skiing.
This was about 2 days after spring began, and they just had a fresh snow. I think the night before, maybe the day before. And so people were still skiing. They extended ski season.
So that catches you up to where we are now. We are touring the San Francisco Bay Area for a couple of weeks. Hope to see you at a show.
Glad to have you here. Glad to be on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Please happily visit anytime.
Thank you, thank you. You hear that? They're inviting everybody to come visit.
All 50,000 of you. And all of you are invited to join both of us next month. We'll catch you then.
The Activated Storytellers perform at schools and libraries nationwide. On stage, we use American Sign Language, physical comedy, imaginative props, and a giant, oversized book to bring the stories to life. For booking information, check our website at www.activated-storytellers.com, where you can also find out when the Activated Storytellers will be performing near you. Read a story or order one of our audio CDs. Until next time.